Welcome to Ken's Corner Podcast, Season 3. Get ready for expert analysis and rising wrestling stars. Now here we go with your host, Ken Judge.
Hey everyone, today I'm really excited because I haven't been on in so damn long. It seems like our last sports chatter, I don't even know how long ago that was, but today we have a very special episode for us. Maybe in a sad way, but it's a celebration as well. It's the end of Ken's Corner podcast for Season 3, and Season 4 is just around the corner. And today, I am not the host. I am allowing my Leafs fan panel boys, George Garbutt out in Calgary, and Greener all the way out there in Nova Scotia. They're going to fire questions at Ken today and play host this show. I'm going to now turn it over to you guys. I'm not sure who's up first, but I'm turning it over to you guys.
Well, George, if I can jump in, one of the things I wanted to ask you, Ken, before we start speaking about sports, I really wanted to talk to you about the Mickey Blanco interview.
Yeah.
What a fascinating story. How did that come about?
Well, it started right near the start of Season 3, and I did have some knowledge of who Mickey Blanco was earlier in his life, being from the same hometown. Now, it's very fascinating that you actually, like you said, fascinating that you bring up this subject because I'm involved in a beautiful community of TikTok, which you guys are actually starting on right now. Your views are way up there in your sports chatter stuff, and people are just asking and wanting the Leafs fan panel to come to Ken's Corner TikTok. But the reason I got this fame in the start was my first ever dive into a non-sports issue. So Mickey Blanco, a.k.a. the Toronto Joker, a.k.a. Michael Stamtakos, nice young Greek man. Well, he had this fascination, I guess the word is for this part of the episode, of TikTok. So where he was, I guess everyone was burning their trailers, having fun, being teenagers, late teens, early 20-year-old kids. Well, Mickey Blanco, he decides, I'm going to put this on TikTok because I'm addicted to TikTok.
Right.
Well, that's not always the best idea, is to burn something on TikTok live because the police officers showed up. He got into a bit of a chase. No, he did get arrested. He did do his time. But near the end of his time, he went to a halfway house. Now, he had to leave his halfway house because of threats in this halfway house because while he was in custody, he went in with no tattoos. Funny story. One morning, he had no tattoos on his face. By the end of that day, he went for his medication, and the nurse said, "What the heck?" Well, his face was fully tattooed like the Joker of the Marvel characters. And who doesn't like a good old Marvel character, Superman and Batman and Robin, and of course your villains like the Joker. So
that's right.
He is well followed. He's had millions of views. A man named Stephen Michael Johnson picked up my interview, which actually on TikTok got around 20,000 views. And that's just on my small TikTok. Now, he picked up the story, made his own little YouTube video of it, which is very comical. It's done in almost a cartoon. I don't know if you've used it yet, but it's almost cartoonish. And it got over 50 million views on YouTube. Wow. So Ken's Corner was pushed out there. So it is an intriguing story. But we are here for sports, guys. So let's move on to our sports talk.
That's right.
Okay, well, Ken, I'm gonna throw this out here. We'll just start off with this. Let's go back to the starting of season 3, and let's talk wrestling. Now, I know you've had quite the amount of wrestlers on your season there, season 3. Let's start off with a hometown hero, Gunnar Lang.
Yeah.
What do you think of him?
Yeah, I'm just going to address this one more thing before we start talking about Gunnar Lang, because this guy is from the town that I'm in right now.
Oh,
I represent Stouffville, Ontario, which I'm very excited to talk about, Gunner. But I do want to throw some shout outs to my TikTok family, the soap boss, the one and only the Toronto Joker's mom, Sarah, Jen Piazza, which is funny story. She's actually related to Hall of Fame baseball player Mike Piazza. So that's I want to, and my friend Avril and so many other people that I met on TikTok. Now let's get to Gunner Lang. I'm sorry I had to add that, George, 1 second. But Gunner, he is an amazing guy. He's not only this man is not only a wrestler, he can entertain, he can wrestle, he can do all those moves, but he's also a wrestling promoter, a new father, and he's a teacher of kids with special needs. What an amazing man he is.
Like that.
Wow, that's pretty nice. So you do have a couple of wrestlers on you that I've taken off your season there. There's an Andrew Love, Jacques Rougeau. Which one would you like to hit on there first?
Well, Andrew Love, right next to Gunner Lang. These guys are best of friends. Andrew is from the Oshawa area, and he's quite the success story, weighing in at 180 pounds. Now, he's been all over North America now at a young age of 22 or 23. Wow. And he's even been on WWE Lives and in dark shows. He has been on a Raw, which he was a security guard, a team of security for The Miz, who was being attacked by then one of the bad guys. Anyway, so he got knocked out, and Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn walked by and said, "Wow, people are getting knocked out around here," and he's laid out. So he's quite the guy, very interesting character, a high flyer. This kid can move around the ring. I expect some big things happening in the future. And you know what? I always love to have Andrew Love on my podcast because he has such a great way of presenting himself. Great kid all around.
Right on.
And then we got the Jacques Rougeau, which is he's a legend. He's been around for a long time.
Yeah.
So let's touch our bases on him.
Yeah. Well, the Rougeau family, the fabulous Rougeaus, Jacques and Raymond Rougeau, the Mountie, led by the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. We all remember him. So that was his manager back in the day. So Jacques, he's elderly. Well, I'm not going to call him elderly because this guy is fit and he is a machine still. I put my hands on his back when I was out in Montreal, and that man is a big man. So right. He's well fit. But anyway, he's really giving back to the community, and more appealing to me as a Canadian community. So he has this thing called Lutte Academy, which is French for Wrestling Academy. And Jacques is now, I believe, into his third season of it. And the first couple of years, he had probably about 15 or 20 people, women and men, competing for a championship in men's and a championship in women. And they actually got $5,000 back then. And I believe it actually rose to $10,000, which it is for this upcoming season, which we're on we're right on the premises of the first event, which is coming up in Montreal. He's done so much for all Canadian wrestlers. So now, back the first couple of years, he went to the Nightmare Factory, which is Cody Rhodes, the best wrestler in the world probably right now, and the most well-known. So now the winner, which there is one man, one woman, I believe there's 15 on each side, $10,000 each winner, and they get 3 weeks training in Japan and 3 weeks training in Mexico by really big trainers. And everyone knows that Mexican and Japanese wrestling is right up there with our North American wrestling as far as production and what they can do and what they put out there for the public to see.
Amazing.
Now, Ken, we got a couple of wrestlers here. I don't know if you want to just pick one two out of them, or do you want me to just go down the line here? We got Leanne Ball, we got Ruby Devlin, American Giant, and the Colonel Brute and Tank. So these are all big wrestlers. Do you have the time? And would you like to speak about each?
Yeah, I have to touch on all of them. I'm going to start with Colonel Brute and the American Giant, which he actually turned heel. He's been in WCW. He has been in Global Alliance, which was a big federation in Florida back 20 years ago. And of course, my friend Frankie Alphabet, but his actual name is Frank Abadandalo. I got it right again, Frankie, if you're watching this. Great man. You actually probably seen him in a video with me, a 2-minute clip in Oakville. Great friend. Although my Leafs are much better than your Tampa Bay Lightning. And we'll prove it again this year, Frankie. So, but anyway, the Colonel is an amazing guy. He actually grew up around the same time as Vince McMahon himself and learned a lot from Vince. And he is your heel manager and probably one of the best that's around Florida.
Yeah.
He got the American Giant to turn on the American people, and in that alliance became known as the Canadian Giant, which I got no problem with because, hell, I'm Canadian, if anyone didn't realize.
Right.
So
right.
I don't know. And Tank, such a great guy. He's 320 pounds, and he can come down with that elbow on top of you, and you'll know it when Tank is in the room. Leanne Ball, wow, I touched on a gem there. I reached out to Leanne because she wrestles in the circles of Quebec, and she was a new wrestler. But what I didn't know about Leanne was she was actually featured on Canada's Got Talent, and she is an aerialist. So basically, she works in Circus du Soleil or whatever that company's called. She does a spin around stuff way up in the sky. Sure. If you punch her name in YouTube, you'll find Leanne Ball. And she's an amazing person. She looks great too, pink hair. You know what I mean? She's got the wrestling look. And you know what? I heard she's hell on wheels inside that ring. So I am a backer of champions in wrestling. And you know what? Most wrestlers that come on my podcast, I love to say, have, if they weren't then, become champions. So wrestlers, remember that. Come to Ken's Corner, you become a champion if you're already not. Now, our last one, I believe, was Ruby Devlin. And Ruby will be back again on Ken's Corner. She is from the Arizona, Colorado area, and she's none other than Ruby, the Rebel Devlin. And she is your good guy, babyface wrestler. And I don't know, she's I got her right before she started her career and her first time on. So very fresh before her first match. But she now is a manager of a championship tag team, and she's going to be back on with her one of her guys, Logan. So I'm looking forward to interacting with Ruby once again. And by the way, Ruby, congratulations to the new baby that's on the way.
Nice.
Back to you.
So we'll just touch one more thing on the wrestling. So Frankie Alphabet, you were mentioning that he's a good friend of yours. And just tell us about the PWS sponsorship that you've gotten by doing all the work with all these guys. Yeah,
well, Frankie Alphabet, he helped me. The first time he see me in the ring, he goes, I don't want to say the wrong thing. I said, no, Frank, you know, I'm always, my motto is you can learn something from someone every day. You just have to open your mind to learning. So yes. I take it from people who know what the heck they're talking about, and that's who I study. And Frankie's definitely one of these men. And he told me, get closer, be more impersonal. So I moved in closer to the wrestlers. PWS stands for Pro Wrestling Stand Up, which is a product of Gunnar Lang, who's a promoter for this company. He allowed me to sponsor them, which was a great little sponsorship of $50 to put my name on a flyer. And I got inside the rings and got live, raw energy after the matches. Actually, one time he forgot to tell me that they changed things up a bit, and a wrestler got in and drop kicked Andrew Love in the face. right when I was about to interview him. So I kind of improvised and said, Andrew, do you have any words? He didn't say anything. I said, Andrew doesn't have anything to say. So it was a great experience, and it's another thing to add to my resume of great things since the start of Ken's Corner here in season 1.
Well, that's really interesting. That's been a great talk about the wrestling. I'm going to hand it off over to Greener. I think he's got a question for you. So let's see what he's got to say.
Thank you,
I'm
George.
looking at all three of us here in our beautiful Corner shirts. When did the idea of marketing the show through shirts come about? Because it's a brilliant idea.
Oh, sorry, I got a fan club already. So, well, it was always on the tip of my mind, and this logo was made from my last editor, Mary, and my son, Justin. They brought on this new logo, which was a lot simpler than my first logo, which although I loved it because it was part of my Maple Leaf pride. So it said pride, courage, honor, which is a Maple Leaf motto. And I had the CN Tower, which I love my city. I hand it to you guys to be able to move away, but I think I would get a little homesick being away from that CN Tower.
Well, I'm still homesick. Yeah.
Sure. But so it was always on the tip of my mind. The very first shirt when I did dive in, and I went to a very old friend of mine. His name is William Shaw at Soundstream Multimedia, or better yet, Soundstream Apparel. And this was the first shirt that I'm wearing today. That was actually made, the gold white shirt with gold. Now, I didn't think that all people would want a white shirt, dirt-wise, stuff like that. We're all men. Well, most of us that wearing them are men. Yeah. So I decided to go with the black shirts, and most people just ate it up. Like, you guys are wearing beautiful black with red. Right. And lately, I have to say, for $50, you can get that one that George is wearing right there, which is actually a hoodie. Now, the newest ones, which are past these ones that are coming out, will actually have the Soundstream Apparel tag on the back of the shirt, so you'll be able to see where they're coming from. Because I don't want to get things twisted here. I really want to honor this man, because his prints are beautiful. They're straight. You know what? If he ever does do a mess up, and this is one of them, he gave it to me for free. Oh, okay. So, yeah. Oh, past that, I turned it over to I learned that my Leaf fan panel is right here that's asking this question, Mr. Greener. Well, he is a really good graphic artist. And you know what? I'm going to call it, as I see it, a world famous, I think like a water painter or something like that. But anyway, this guy here, he has stuff all over the world and selling it in different areas. Look him up, Ian Greenson. I'm sorry, I'm going to have to plug your name. Ian Greenson. Right. He's an amazing guy. He actually designed our second and third, which is our mass jerseys, which sell really well. People seem to love the men rustic look, and the girls are starting to take to the pink as well. I know you're making me one hell of a logo for an upcoming show, but we'll talk about that later.
Yes, right on. Well, I love it, and I represent it all the time. I can't get enough of it. So whatever we have, and where can people who watch us get the shirts? Through you?
Well, they could email me direct at kenscornerpodcast@gmail.com. Okay. Or I'm actually in the works of working out details that you could go right to Soundstream Apparel, and they'll ship it out for you. It'll cost you shipping, of course, as it will for me. Either way, you can have it shipped from the company now or through me.
Right. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to steal it back from you, Ian. I got another question here. Let's talk about Ken's Corner's intro. This has been going for a while, and now it's even getting better. So who's responsible for this?
Well, originally, my original editor was Mary Poulos, and she made the first one with the masked guy, a masked wrestler. I happen love Ken's Corner, which I just adored and loved, and with my voice on it. Well, season 2, we switched it up a bit. It was the same intro, just with Sean Fowler's name, voice, which is now my editor. I'll get into that in a second. But yeah, he did the voiceover. Sean is responsible for doing a lot of voiceovers in different commercials and different companies and YouTube stuff. He's an old friend and such an amazing, talented man. So now we move into season 3, which he put in some clips of me in the ring with wrestlers. So coming for season 4, we decided that maybe we have too much of an intro and people might not actually watch through the intro and get into actually seeing our beautiful faces. So now we have that new intro that you're seeing on TikTok and YouTube and Facebook and other places that I've released it, where the Ken's Corner actually comes smashing down onto a rock, and that will be our intro in blue or black, whichever Sean Feller decides to use, because I give him full reign of responsibility to putting these episodes together. And I mean, he's done everything from our ticker, which is new, our personalized boxes that we get put in, all that stuff. And you know what? It really makes it appealing to an eye and a lot more professional to look at.
Right on, Ken.
Hey, sorry, Ian, for taking up all the talk here. But I got two more questions that I'm going to ask Ken.
Yep.
Ken, tell me when did you decide to do sports chatter?
Well, you know what? I don't know about you guys, but at the end of the Leaf season, Leaf fan panel, we're all a little pissy, so to speak. And I didn't want to give up having you guys, my characters. You guys are what bring me to my every Sunday at 4:00. And I didn't want to give that up. Yeah. So I decided to start this thing, and we put it to test in a few different names, and I came up with the name Sports Chatter. Now, Sports Chatter, we can talk about any sport, and that's what it's about. And I designed it more for the idea that we could have a cigarette, drink a coffee, have a whiskey if you have to, a beer, whatever. And let's just have some fun and talk about sports. And it became very contagious. We had lots of guys join us. JT, we had Phil, we had Joe, we had Paula Hendricks come on. We had Gord from downtown. We had Lem from Calgary, and we had other people lining up that we just didn't have time to add on. Oh, let's not forget my favorite comedian. Although I don't like your negative Leaf messages that you send me, Paul, I'll never repeat them because I'm always the glass half full. Ask Joe Moyer. He says it's to my fault that I'm always the positive guy when it comes to the Leafs. So no more negative jokes. I won't acknowledge them, although they are a little funny if I see them maybe in Niagara Falls on stage. But let's not forget Paul Haywood. So I had a blast. I believe you guys did too. We really settled into it after a few episodes, and right down to naming our Four Nations Cup teams. Like that was
fun.
That was really fun, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I can't say enough about Sports Chatter. And when we win the Stanley Cup this year, yes, I'm saying it now. When we get to that 4th round and that season's over, we'll move on to our Sports Chatter season 2. Now, apparently we only got 10 minutes, so let's push the rest of these questions in as quick as we possibly can, guys.
Oh, okay. I know we're all excited about the sports panel or Leafs panel, but we'll just stop there and hand it over to Ian. Sports panel is a great thing, and let's go over to Ian, or unless you want to touch on that, Ken, real quick.
Leafs fan panel is coming up soon, guys. We're all back September 29th, release early October.
Thank goodness. All right, I got a few questions, Ken. I know you're also a host at Whistle Radio, and I wanted to know what that entails, what that looks like.
Well, originally we were doing a 12-minute show back a couple of seasons ago. Last season we had Sports Timeout, which touched on Leafs a half hour before the Leafs show. Well, I've been doing something which I kind of fought a little bit at first, but I think I'm getting better at, which is my 2-minute sports updates. And I'll tell you, to be able to speak without saying or for that 2 straight minutes, it is tough, and it's really tested me. And I can't say enough about Whistle Radio and Bob Pritchard and Joe Moyer and the whole team there. Right now, we're actually moving on to another thing, which is the Junior A team, the Stouffville Spirit. And I'm going to be on with Joe doing some Spirit talk coming up. Be a 15-minute chatter about the Spirit before the Spirits. And I'm going to do it the same way as I host here. I'm going to bring on special guests and let them talk, let them tell their stories, let the coaches, managers, players, parents, the billets, the people who are taking these kids in, they're called billets. Let them tell their stories. That's what's important to the public, I believe, in telling the story of what Junior A hockey is.
And as important as the product on the ice, really. Okay, Ken, I know that your Ken's Korner is doing its first ever live event. Where?
Well, we haven't landed a solid date, but I'm hoping for October 9th, which would be Toronto-Montreal season opener, an hour before it. And I do have some of my lineup ready to go, which includes Jim Mason, who is the announcer for the Stouffville Spirit and a longtime news reporter here in Stouffville. I mean, 40 years reporter. The coach and possibly leader of the Spirit or captain of the Stouffville Spirit. I'm hoping Keith Acton will join us, former Stanley Cup champion and the owner of Boston Pizza. Brian McFarland, unless he has some medical issues because the man is getting old. Hopefully, Brian will show up to talk about Peter and Penny Puck. And my closer, as long as I get my date on the 9th, which I'm hoping is CTV sports anchor legend himself, Joe Tilley.
I mean, right. And you said that's out of Boston Pizza? Did I hear that right?
It's out of Boston Pizza, Stouffville.
Okay, amazing. Listen, I got one more quick question. I don't know how much time we have left. We know that season 4 is fast approaching.
Yes.
Little sneak peeks you can give us about upcoming guests.
Yeah, well, of course, I've already announced that the fan panel will be back, and I hope everyone can keep up to me, and we can do this once a week and bring in our special guests like Paul and whoever else wants to join us on that, whoever I can drag in for us. I already actually recorded a live interview from the beach of beautiful Orillia, Ontario. Scott Morrison, legend on Hockey Night in Canada. Wow. A beautiful man, and he comes on and tells his story of the impact of what the Johnny Gaudreau death is going to do to the NHL, everyone in the NHL, including the media.
Yes.
Great watch. You guys have to watch that. Adam Rita, former Argo manager and coach, 6-time champion, 4 with my Toronto Argos. Amazing man. Honestly, he talks so easily back and forth in emails. I wasn't sure if it was Adam Rita that was going to show up, or maybe a naked person on the other end of that Zoom. But I was happy that it was, in fact, the smile of Mr. Adam Rita. And I like to say that I was right, Adam, during your alumni game in BC. Argo won that game. I was a little off. I said 25-20, but I'll take that 33, the 19 Argo victory. Thank you very much, Adam.
Fantastic, Ken. I mean, listen, from this end, these guests, this is because of the quality that you bring to these interviews as well.
Thank you.
You give people so much room in interviews to just speak that these are the guests you're going to get, Ken, because you're really good at it.
Thank you. I do want to announce one more. The same day we interview with you guys, none other than Jimmy Devellano, the senior vice president of both the Detroit Tigers and the Detroit Red Wings. Not my favorite team, but you know what? I will give homage to.
Right?
This is for me. That's for sale if anyone wants it. You know what? You guys are the best. I really thank you. You came on, and you know what? You guys could run your own Ian and George or George and Ian show. If you have anything else, we have a few more minutes if you want to speak a little further.
Well, yeah, go ahead, Georgie.
Well, let's just talk about, the season that's coming up and how exciting it's going to be to talk about the Leafs after the game and before the game.
Yeah, you're right. I forgot to say thanks for adding that. In fact, Ian is forming a logo for our new show, which will actually feature me on the streets of Toronto, interviewing fans coming in and out. Well, I'm not sure if I'll stick around for the out, but the in part of the Leafs and the Raptors, and get some views of the fans. And I actually have a banner, a Ken's Corner banner, that's actually in the make that we'll be able to put up behind me so people will know who we represent. So thanks for bringing that up, George.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
And it's called T. Street Talk.
Perfect name. I got you with that. It's coming. It's coming.
Thank you. Okay, if we got nothing else, I'm going to take back over, guys. Thanks again for hosting this show. It's been my honor to have you guys on. I cannot wait until September 29th, which I think is 2 weeks away. Before we go out the door, my God, I am so excited that Max Pacioretty is joining on a PTO. Yes. Yanni Hakanpää signed that 1-year contract, which makes it so much more movable for us if something were not to work out. A $1.4 million is easily buried in Robert Island, guys. So I
like
our defense. I like it. And is there a room for Alex Nylander? I hope so, guys. I really do. Yeah. On that note, we'll talk more about that. And we're going to allow Gord, when he comes back on, to talk about his thoughts on Austin Matthews' captaincy, because I can't remember if we actually gave him a chance to do that. So, yeah. Saying that, guys, thank you so much. My name's Ken, and I'm on Ken's Corner Podcast with my host of the day, Ian Greener from Nova Scotia, and George Garbett, all the way out there in Calgary. Although they're both from Toronto, I'm not going to say they're from either of those spots, because these both are homebred Toronto guys just like me.
I still have my 416 phone number.
Go Leafs, go.
Leafs, go. See you soon, boys.
Go Leafs, go.